I've just cleaned that up, both sides. Probably just do a little bit more just to square this off. And then it's just a matter of the time-consuming process of cutting a little bit at a time off the new panel until it fits snug. I'm probably going to TIG weld this one in, so the fitment's got to be bang on. One of the things I have learnt is when you want to weld a couple bits of metal together, obviously this is pretty old, it's got rust, it's got old paint on it. If you can make this as clean as possible, get back to bare metal so there's no rust, there's no paint, there's no bog, nothing like that on it, it'll give you a much nicer finish. If you leave it where it's got crap all up here, all next to the weld, as soon as you weld that, it just pulls it into the weld and your welds will look like absolute crap. So spend a bit of time, get the metal clean, get it prepped, and it will give you a lot better finish. I'll keep going, I'll start cutting this panel and try and make it fit. To save myself a bit of time, as you can see, the new panel is a little bit bigger, so I'll leave the excess on until it's on the car, or until it's on the subframe, and then we can trim that off afterwards. But just to get it pretty close, I can sit this over it, I can trace this, and when I cut it, I'm not going to cut it right on the line, I'm just going to give myself a little bit of material, and then I can slowly just take a little bit off at a time until I can get it to the stage where it fits really nice. So this is just an aftermarket replacement panel, and as you can see, it is a little bit off. So I'm going to leave a little bit of excess material, and I'm probably just going to panel beat this up a little bit until I can get it so it's a really nice fit with this panel. Heading back down to the shed to get a bit more done. Had a pretty busy weekend with the family, and so didn't get a chance to do much, so knocked off work and head back out here and see where I got up to. See what mess I made. So I was modifying this panel because it just didn't quite fit right. So I've tipped that edge back over. Got to do a little bit of trimming, and then I'll tap it back over. And then once that's done, I can look at getting it tacked in. Once this piece is on and done, I can put this outside piece back on here, but this piece here is obviously going to get finished before I get to that. Alright, I'll get cutting and try and make this all fit back together again. Close enough to get a couple of tacks on it, so I'll get a couple of tacks where it's nice and close, and then I can just, these bits that need a bit of a massage, once I've got a few tacks on it, I can just tap the edge over and then I can continue welding. I forgot to turn the gas on. That's how you destroy your tungsten instantly. Let's try again. So I've got a couple nice tacks there, keep that flat. So where this edge is here, you can see there that's slightly raised, so I can tap this over and get this fitting a bit nicer, and then I can get tacks on here, and then I can just work my way along, close the gap up, tap this over and get it fitting pretty good. Slowly getting there. It's all tapped in here. This edge is looking pretty good now, so that can get welded up. I've done around the corner. I've still got a little bit to fill in here and there, but yeah, I'll probably sand this up, get it nice and smooth, and then just fill in the other little bits. It should be a pretty good repair once it's all done. When I went to weld this, I accidentally bumped the adjuster on the TIG, so it bumped it up to 50 odd amps. That's why it just blew the hole through. But I'll spot that up, fix those little holes here and TIG the rest of it in, and it'll be good. Just got this last little bit to do here, but I just dipped the tungsten, so give it a quick clean up on the grinder and just finish off this last little weld, and it just needs a bit of a clean up after that. Alright, that's all welded up now. So the beauty with the TIG welding is there's nowhere near as much grinding, so I had to fill a few little holes here and there, but they'll buzz off pretty easily. That's probably about enough for tonight, so I'll come back down tomorrow after work and hit it with the grinder and give it a good clean up. Once that's done, I can paint the inside of it before I put the other piece on, just to seal it off. But it'll be a pretty good repair once it's all done. Just giving this bit a bit of a grind up, and as you can see, when I welded this and it's shrunk, this bit's dropped, so the sanding disc is hitting here and here but not here. I'll give this bit of a tap up just with the hammer and dolly, just to lift this middle bit up, and then I can flatten this off a bit nicer. This sanding disc that I've got on the smaller grinder is a 36 grit 3M one, so it's quite savage. So I'll just use that to get the bulk of the metal off, but I don't want to keep going where it's going to thin out the two sides too much. So get the bulk of the weld off with that, and then I can just tidy up the rest with the flapper wheel. So this edge is tipped over, so the new panel was a bit longer, so I've just cut it off to that line, and this little radius here, I'm just tapping that back over just to put that tipped edge back on. Just giving that a bit hit with the orbital just to give it a bit of clean up. None of this actually gets seen when it's on the car. Once this gets welded on, all of this is hidden. This edge will have like seam sealer over it, and once it gets painted, might just end up with a little bit of body filler in some of these areas just to smooth it all out, but it's turned out pretty good. So this edge is the one I was talking about that I've just tipped over. So I'll just give it a bit of a clean up, the welds under here, and then this will all get primed. This subframe, once all the repairs are finished on it, the whole thing's going to get sandblasted and put in epoxy just to seal it, and then this will pretty well just get put aside, and wait until the rest of the car's caught up to the rust repairs, and then obviously it'll all get painted in one hit. So because there was a bit of surface rust on this piece, I don't want to go and just put primer straight over it, so I don't have any with me at the moment, but I need to pick up some deoxidine. So this will just get coated with the deoxidine, which will treat the bare metal, get rid of the surface rust, and the backside's got a bit on it as well. So treat this with deoxidine, then it will get painted in just an etch primer, and once this is painted, I can put this bit on. I'm just going to make this fit a bit nicer. As you can see, there's a few gaps. Once this is prepped and painted, this can get welded on. So follow along as I do a bit of tweaking on this panel, get it to fit nice, and we'll go from there. So I've got this edge here fitting a lot nicer, so that's pretty well just flattened that right out, as there was a big gap there before. So I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, but this sort of tips back a little bit. So where I've got this gap here, I've just got to stretch this through here a couple of times to get this whole thing just to tip over. This sheet metal is actually zinc anneal, so it's not as soft, it's not as easy to shape as what just the cold, this is like 1 mil or 0.9 cold rolled, and that's zinc anneal, so that's a lot easier to shape than what this is. But this is what I had at the time, so I'll keep persevering with this, but when I get some more metal to do some other rust repairs, I'll just go for the cold rolled, because it's a lot easier to work with. So I've got it sitting pretty good up here, but if I pinched it all the way down here, it lifts up. So rather than reshaping this whole area up here, what I'm going to do is I've fixed it here, and you can probably see it's lifted this edge. So I'm just going to drop this edge down a little bit, and then I'm going to panel beat this bit down a bit more so that it meets this edge here. So I'll take it off again, massage this area here, get this edge down, and then we're getting pretty close. All right, I'm getting closer now, so still got a little gap here. So what I'm going to do is just shave a little bit off here and a little bit off here, and then this whole thing will just slide down about 2 mil. That'll close up this gap, and I'll have a nice gap here to weld up. These screws, obviously just to hold it in place, they'll get taken out one by one and welded up, and then I'm going to drill a couple holes. I'll figure out where the mounting holes are, like these ones here, and where the original spot welds were is I'm going to drill a couple holes away from these holes, and then this will get plug welded on, and it'll also get welded up and over here. I'll get this metal treated tomorrow. Once that's done, I can get some paint on it, and then this guy can get welded on. This side then is done, and I can repeat exactly the same process over here. I've got this repair all finished, the back piece, so that's all welded in and smoothed off. So almost ready to weld this piece on. So that just needs a little bit more tweaking, and it's getting there. Once this is on there, I won't be able to get behind it, so I'm just going to put some weld through primer behind this section, and then once all of these repairs are done, the whole thing is going to get covered in epoxy. This is just a U-pole copper weld through primer. Wait for that to dry, and then I can weld this top piece on. Get the welder set up, get a couple tacks on it. I'm going to start at the bottom, get this couple tacks here to hold it, maybe a couple on here, and then I'll work my way around to make sure I get this to line up. I might just have to tap this around a little bit to get it to sit right. Let's turn the welder on. So I've got all the plug welds done. So I drilled holes through this piece, and then basically just went in with the welder and then just run around to fill the plug welds. And then the smaller ones is just where I've filled the little tech screw holes. So that'll all get sanded off so it's all flush. I'm just going to tidy this up with the grinder, just flatten all these out, and I'll probably just give it one last touch up with the hammer just to make sure it's all nice and flat, and then I'll just finish welding that one piece there. And then I'm probably going to flip it over, and then the holes on the back side, I'll just give them a quick touch up, and then that'll get sanded off as well, and then this repair can get painted and it's done. Now when I weld this in, I'm not just going to go in one big hit and weld the whole thing, because it will put a fair amount of heat in. So I'm just going to sort of overlap some spots. You'll still get a good penetration doing it, so just do this bit here, and then I'm probably going to go onto this side, finish welding this, let it cool for a bit, and then I'll come back to this side. Yeah, if I start here and just do one continuous weld, this whole thing will shrink and it will kick. So it's just a matter of doing a bit of heat control as you're welding them, and yeah, just work your way around just so you're not putting too much heat in one spot for too long. Another little trick, if you want to take a bit of heat out of it, you can just get some compressed air. Just show you how this is all worked out. So this will all get sanded smooth as well. Alright, I'll keep going. This side pretty well done, so I've just put some silver primer on it for now just to stop its surface rusting. These holes that you see here, I'm not going to drill them until I get it back on the car, so I can actually bolt this all back up to the car, and then from the inside of the firewall put a texture through and mark exactly where all these holes are, because I don't want to go and drill them now and then be a mil off and then I can't get the bolt through. So I'll get all of this done and then it will get bolted back onto the ute, and then we can get all these holes drilled. So that's that side done for now. Next on the agenda is start cutting out this one. To get this shape here, I'm going to make a template. I'm going to do it, I haven't decided, either with cardboard or with a bit of masking tape. I'll video that as I go, but yeah, basically I'll lay the tape over here and cut it all off so it's flush, and then I can take that off, transfer it to a bit of sheet metal and fold it all up. So the good thing about putting the tape on is you can see exactly where the radiuses are. So I can mark that radius on the tape, mark this one, mark this one, mark this one, and then when I put it onto the sheet metal, it gives my exact points where I need to bend it. So it should work out a little bit easier. Alright, we'll get stuck into it and you'll see this one unfold.